Cyberpunk Edgerunners is nothing short of a masterpiece. Just like David flew higher than he ever thought he could, this show managed to fly its way to nearly the top of my favorite shows of all time. It's not without its fair share of plot holes though. In this short video, I'll break down every major plot hole in Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Number 1. Glorias Death. Gloria gets caught in the crossfire between gang goons and ultimately ends up dying at a meat wagon hospital, with only David checking up on her. The show makes it clear that Gloria works as an EMT. Wouldn't she get some kind of employee medical benefit? Also, it would make sense that someone who handles the dead on a regular basis would see the value in a premium insurance plan. On top of being a hardworking EMT, she was also working with the Edgerunners crew. It's hard for me to believe that Gloria wouldn't have any help whatsoever in her time of need, when she was a really cool person who had allies on two different sides. It's a tough pill to swallow that Gloria worked in emergency care and didn't get any sort of medical benefit, didn't see the value in premium insurance, and didn't have anyone to help her in the end. Number 2. Lucy's choices. At the beginning of the anime, Lucy is a confident, independent person who's wildly unhinged. Throughout the show, she becomes the polar opposite of this personality, shy and reserved. She was unwilling to tell David that Arasaka planned to use him to test a cyberskeleton, when there was no good reason not to. She also distances herself from David when he needed her by his side the most. She could have persisted more with David about downgrading his chrome. For several months, she sees David shake compulsively, and instead of telling him to go see Ripperdoc or taking him to see Ripperdoc, she doesn't say anything. This is a stark contrast from the Lucy we were introduced to at the beginning.
I dropped out.
Ah, what a bad boyo.
She goes off by herself to pursue the Arasaka data miner, when she had no good reason to hide this from the crew. These are solid friends who have gone through thick and thin with her, yet she keeps this very dangerous mission to herself. By far the biggest hole in Lucy's logic is when she frees herself from Faraday's two goons. She slices the two guards to bits but simply kicks Faraday. There is little to no reason why she wouldn't just chop up Faraday right then and there. This would have meant that David wouldn't have gone to Arasaka Tower and faced off against Adam Sandler. David and Lucy could have had their happy ending potentially if Faraday had been offed right then and there. I was screaming at my TV when I first saw this scene. Number 3. Kiwis Betrayal. Why would Kiwi betray the crew if they were already making such great money? One could argue it was for greed, but this rubbed me the wrong way for another reason too. Her one prevailing message throughout the show is never trust a soul in Night City, yet she puts her complete faith in the slimiest, most obviously devious man in Night City. From the villainous voice to his shady tactics, we would know better than to strike a deal with this guy. Not only did Kiwi betray the crew we love, but she betrayed herself and the one message she's been preaching the entire show. Number 4. David's choices. Cyberpunk Edgerunners makes it no secret that David was a straight-A student. He's sharp and intellectually gifted. You would think someone like this would be able to pick up on the patterns around him, but he instead falls into the exact same trap as Maine.
Get it together!
The most precious people closest to him are telling him to lay off the chrome, and yet he does the complete opposite. Even JK, Ripperdoc, and Tonica force David to acknowledge his eventual demise. They all blatantly remind David that his path will lead him straight to death, but yet he dismisses everything and pushes forward regardless. By far the biggest plot hole in all of Cyberpunk Edgerunners is the fact that David clearly picked the wrong girl. Rebecca was his ride or die, who was vying for his attention. She cared for him unconditionally. They shared a lot of the same interests like getting chromed up and shooting. Instead, David chose the aloof girl that literally set him up in episode 2. Rebecca was forthcoming and honest with David from the start. She even has fully automated hands for good measure. Imagine how different the story would have played out if David had chosen our precious Becca.
See you soon, Dimples.
Number 5. Things that don't make sense. I've mentioned before how much I adore this anime, but there are a handful of things that make zero sense throughout. When David and Lucy are stealing chips, wouldn't people notice a guy disappearing and basically teleporting on the train? This would be extremely suspicious. How does David using a Sandevistan in a car translate to him making the car gain altitude? Why does Maine's gun never work? It jams more often than it shoots, which is incredibly sad, since Maine literally went crazy over upgrades that don't work. Also, couldn't Arasaka track the Sandevistan? And better yet, why weren't they able to track down Lucy ever since she ran away as a kid? Both of these things were within the reach of Arasaka but are not really mentioned instead. Cyberpunk Edgerunners made us smile, laugh, and tear up all within 10 episodes, which is a marvel of an accomplishment in and of itself. With that said, it's definitely not without plot holes. Gloria's unexplainable death, Lucy becoming the opposite of herself in personality, Kiwi going against the one thing she stood for, and David making no logical sense in his choices are just a few examples. It's fascinating how we as fans were able to overlook these holes. I'd love to know what plot holes I missed in the comments. I'm Bumper Jumper, dedicated to exploring the deepest and most profound stories in anime, video games, movies, and TV shows. I'd love to hear your suggestions and opinions on this, so make sure to geek out in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one.